Alright, we are here with another deck profile, this time for my post-set 8 Gold Paladins. This stuff will
Notice
be
we didn't do a
coming...
preset 8.
Yeah, that's because there wasn't... I, at the time, didn't think there was going to be much to change, and I was wrong. So, the other stuff is coming soon. We'll be posting more Genesis, Dark Irregular, Neo Nectar, all that goodness soon, but for now, without further ado, here is my Gold Paladin lineup. To start with, we have the starter deck Forerunner, Knight of Early Dawn Cole. He's really good. I like him a lot, especially if you're just starting off your first stride turn, getting your field built. He says on Unite, which for those who don't know, Unite is when 2 units have been called either to the Guardian Circle or to Rear Guard. Unite is active. It is Gold Paladin's keyword. He says you can put him in the soul. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 card from among them, call it to a rear guard, shuffle your deck, and then the unit you call gets 2,000 power. It's a great little starter. Use him pretty much any game I play him. Solid card. As for the trigger lineup, we are running 8 crit. You can run 4 copies of Scarface Lion if you would like. I don't, because I find I don't really use him. I also just don't feel like dropping the extra money on it. But if you want to run 4, go right ahead. But 8 crit. Flame of Victory is the other one, because Flame of Victory is just good. So that. And then I run 4 stands. Mainly the Gigatech Ringer. You can run the Unite stand if you would like. Personally, I like Gigatech better. He says, Rearguard GB1, put this unit on top of your deck. When your other unit is placed on Rearguard from your deck, you may pay the cost. If you do, shuffle your deck, draw a card, and that unit gets plus 5k. It's a really nice boost, especially when you call off the top of, which I do in this deck a lot. So it's really nice to get the extra 5k, and then you also get to draw a card. Which, solid stand trigger. I like him a lot. I run 4 of them. And obviously we have the 4 heal triggers, because heal triggers are heals, and you just run 4. So that's the trigger lineup, and the grade 0s overall. Moving right along to the grade 1s. Start off with the new support from set 8, who honestly is the new MVP of the deck in my opinion. Knight of the Morning Light Horsa. This card is super, super good. It's really kind of just made my deck what it is now. I love her a lot. She says, Rearguard, GB1, Unite. When your other unit is placed on Rearguard, choose one of your other units in the same column as this unit, and that unit and this unit get 2k until the end of turn. This builds up really fast, especially if you're in your Glorious Reigning turn or just doing any mass amount of top calling, and can make some really big numbers late game, which is awesome and why we run 3 of her. Next, we run 3 of the Sunshine Knight Jeffrey. This guy is super good as well. He also has Rearguard GB1 Unite. Put this unit into your soul at the end of a battle that this unit boosted. You may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. It's a really nice way of just drawing cards and getting that hand built. So we run 3 of that. Next, we run the obvious 3 of Stride Fodder. I run 8 grade 3, so 3 is perfectly fine. Definitely don't need to run 4. I wouldn't recommend it especially. But if you don't know what he does or what the Stride Fodder does, he also searches out a Gurguit if you place him on rear guard and then reveal another grade 3 and discard a card and then pays the cost for striding. So 3 of those. And then last but not least, we have the PG. You can run whatever you would like as long as it is an original PG. I do not recommend running a PGG in any Gurguit build just because you cannot call it off the top of the deck with Gurguit's GB2 skill. I like this one just because of his art. I think that it's really awesome. So I run 4 of that one. But you can run any original PG you want. That's it for my grade 1s. Moving right along to the grade 2s. First off, I have quite a few in here, so we'll just go right down the list. I run 2 of the good old Holy Mage Puel. He's the on-boost unit for Gold Paladins. He says, Auto Rearguard GB1. Counter +1, when this unit attacks a Vanguard and is boosted, you may pay the cost and look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Search for one among them and call it to Rearguard. In this current build of the deck, I definitely don't feel like I need more than 2 of him. It's because I have a lot of other skills that are just being fulfilled in the grade 2 slot, and it is really tight. And 2 is just fine. I get him plenty of times as it stands. So just 2 of him works perfectly fine. Next, we run 3 of the new support. Knight of the Remaining Sun, Hermias, yep. He's a Glimmerclef clone for Gurguit. He says, auto rearguard, or auto GB1, sorry. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, when this unit is placed on rearguard. You may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 among them, call to rearguard, put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. If you have a Vanguard with Gurguit in its name, the unit called with this effect and this unit get plus 3k. This unit's super good, especially when you're setting up your Glorious Rain turn, which I will talk about in a little bit. Just starting off and triggering the Unite, and then your front row has a nice, hopefully your front row has a nice 3k boost so they can just attack for 12. So nice little numbers that you can create there. The plus 3k is really what makes this card because he gives it to both him and the unit he calls. So great addition to the deck, and why we run 3. Next we run Knight of the Faint Sun, Marcia. She says, Unite. Rearguard. This one. Rearguard or Guardian Circle, actually. Put this unit into your soul at the end of the turn. You may pay the cost. If you do, countercharge 1. This is really cool because this means that if you use her to guard in the Guardian Circle, or if you just call her on the Rearguard Circle, if Unite was triggered, you can just throw her right in the soul and countercharge 1. And on top of that, she has Resist, which is nice for Gold Paladins, because we have those matchups with either with Kagero, Narukami, or Link Joker, where we need to have rearguards that just can't be interacted with, so we like having her as a 3 of. She is an Ace 8k, which is kind of annoying, but honestly, with the numbers that you generate really fast in this deck between Scourge Point, Hernias, Gurguit, grade 4, doesn't really matter. So that 8k hardly ever actually becomes an issue. Hence why we run 4 of her. Next we run 2 of the good old Lapierre Shooter. Old card, but still relevant and still good. It says, auto choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit is placed on rearguard from your deck, if you have a Gold Paladin Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Search for 1 Gold Paladin from among them, call to rearguard, put the rest of them in the bottom of the deck in any order. Nice little 2 of, definitely don't need to run any more of that. I don't use him super often, but if he is what I check and I do need to fill up more spots, he's a nice little thing. Throwing away a card isn't too big of an issue because of Jeffrey now and Gigatech Ringer drawing you cards, so definitely still good to run. After that, I have just a couple 1-ofs. I like having a 1-of tech. Do a 1-of Holy Mage Elio. He's also from the start deck. I only run a 1-of because he isn't on hit, but it is nice pressure, especially early game, and good to have just to make your opponent nervous. It says, auto rearguard, counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, search for 1 among them, call it to an open rearguard, and put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. It's nice that he is pre-GB, so again, just that early game pressure can be nice, but the on-hit is kind of what turns him into just not so good in my opinion, hence why I only keep him at a 1-of. But it is a nice little tech to have. And then the one other 1-of I have is Knight of Spring's Light Paramour. Also Unite, auto GB1, counterblast 1 when this unit is placed on rearguard. You may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Search for 1 among them, call to rearguard in the same column as this unit, and put the rest in the bottom of the deck in any order. So what's nice about him is that he does not have to be called off the top of the deck to trigger his skill, and he is an 11k attacker so long as you have Unite active. So good little card. It is annoying that he is restricted to calling to the same column as him, but the fact that you don't have to call on top of the deck and he's 11k attacker doesn't really matter, and that way you can get either a nice Joffrey or a Horsea into your back row. So, good 1-of, handy in certain situations. That is my grade 2 lineup. Moving right along to the grade 3s. So, we run a 4-of the man himself, Sunrise Ray Knight Gerguit. This card has always been super good for golds, and it's just getting better and better as more support has come out. I have 3 of the trial of the start deck, and then gotta have that OG art too. For those who don't know, he says auto Vanguard GB2, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. At the beginning of your guard step of the battle that this unit was attacked, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 card from among them, call it to Guardian Circle at rest, and shuffle your deck. This is why you don't run any PGGs in this deck. You want to try and keep to the original PGs because they aren't blocked to being called from your hand to guard, so you can use his skill, check top 4, look for a PG, call it, and it will count. Super good against certain matchups, especially with darker regulars and any other deck that has guard restrictions around PGs. He gets around that, which is super nice. And then for his on-stride skill, Counterblast 1, during turn of you stride, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, search for 1 among them, call to rear guard, and it gets plus 2,000 power. It's also super good, especially when you're starting off early with Scourge Point or later going into Gerguit and you just need to fill that field back up. Great way to get it started is with that on-stride skill. He's definitely, I don't know if I would say the boss because the deck is shared with this guy here, but I am definitely starting to use Gerguit more often than I am with Ezel. Now, I would definitely say you should probably run 4 of Salvation Lion Ezel, or at least 3 and then 1 Platinum Ezel. But considering he is $25 a piece, I don't really feel like spending that money right now. So, assuming that you have all of or mostly Salvation Grand Ezel, we will talk about him. He has Act Limit Break 4, Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 2, unlock all of your lock cards. If normal Gold Paladin rearguard you have is 5, until the end of turn, this unit gets plus 10,000 power and crit plus 1 till the end of that turn. Countercharge 1, or Soul Charge 1, and Countercharge 1 as well. So he is a partial refund, which is nice. And then on top of that, he has the good old Ezel skill. During your turn, this unit gets 1,000 power for each Gold Paladin rearguard. Super good card, especially if you're facing a Link Joker matchup, because he can unlock your field and get a nice little bonus himself. So really good backup, or just a main ride to Gerguit. Then Platinum Ezel, real quick, just gives 5,000 power to the field if you're at Limit Break 5. And Incandescent Lion Ezel for Counterblast 2 lets you check 1 card from the top of your deck and call it to an open rearguard, and his power is increased by the unit's power. Not super good, but if it's early game and you feel like you have the units and resources to spare and you want to just rush your opponent, not the worst option in the world. But you should definitely, if you have the funds and the ability, just run 4 copies of Salvation. That's it for the main deck. Moving on to our G-Zone. First and foremost, we have 2 of the Golden Dragons, Scourge Point Dragon. He's almost always your first turn ride. I find him just super useful, especially with Gerguit. Assuming you're going to Gerguit, I should say. If you are riding Ezel, then you have a different first turn stride, which I will get to in a second. But Scourge Point says, when your unit is placed on rearguard from your deck, that unit and this unit get 5k. So again, really good way to just build up numbers really fast early game. Call any unit from the top of your deck and it gets 5k using Gerguit's on stride skill or any other of your rearguard skills that just call units off the top. So it builds big numbers early game. I find that's the best way to play this deck, is stride into Scourge Point and then just try and rack up as much damage on your opponent with these powerful columns as quickly as possible for the next 2 strides. So you run 2 of that. Almost always your first, unless you are on an Ezel Vanguard, in which case you go into this first. Absolution Lion King Mithril Ezel. Good old card, especially if you are on your Ezel. Or only on your Ezel, I should say, because you can't use it if you're on Gerguit. But act once per turn, Counterblast 1, choose a face down card named Absolution Lion King Ezel. From your G-Zone, turn it face up. If you have a heart card with Ezel in its name, unlock all of your lock cards. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for 1 among them, call to rearguard, shuffle your deck, and then you get to increase this unit and that unit with the power of the unit you called. So if you call a 9k grade 2, both Ezel and that unit get plus 9,000 power, etc., etc. Really good unit, great first turn stride, and also good if you're playing Lake Joker, just again to unlock your field. So great. I only run a 2 of because, again, Ezreal is not really the main focus in this deck. Also, again, don't really feel like spending the money on Mithril Ezreal since he's around 30 last I checked. So 2 of is just fine, especially since you really kind of just use him at the beginning of the game in most cases. Next, we have the grade 4 version of our good old friend Gurguit. Sunrise, Ray Radiant, Sword Gurguit. He is a super good card. He says, Act GB2 Unite, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 2. This unit gets 5,000 power for each of your rear guards until the end of turn, and choose up to 5 of your rear guards, and they all get 5,000 power. The obvious excellent thing about this skill is that this is not locked to once per turn, so if you have the Counterblast and the Soul Blast, you can just keep doing it until you run out. So very, very easy to abuse to get up to 10,000. I think the best I have ever done is, I think I've triggered it 3 times and gotten the 15k extra power to each of my rear guards. So super, super good finisher. If your opponent is at 4 or 5 damage, it's just a good way to finish them off. So 2 of that. Don't need more than that because you use so much of your resources on that stride that you don't really have enough to use more than 2. Next is my new favorite card in Gold Paladins, the Glorious Reigning Dragon. So, I think this card is arguably as good, if not better, than the Gurguit Stride, and we'll go into why. And also why I'm running a 4 of it. So he has Auto Vanguard Unite, Counterblast 1, Persona Flip. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. And then, look at the top 7 cards from your deck. Search for the same number of cards as you have face up in your G zone. Call them to separate rearguard circles. And shuffle your deck. Then if you called 3 or more units with the skill, you get to countercharge and soul charge. So, a few things here that make this skill super good. For starters is when he attacks, so you get to start off having your attacks attack, and then you can attack with your Vanguard, so you get those extra pressure points in. Second is that you get to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, which is the first time Gold Paladins have ever been able to dig this much, and you're basically guaranteed to get something, which is good for Gold Paladins considering they have always had the issue of sometimes missing getting any good units at all. Third, he is a complete refund and actually gets a +1 in the soul, assuming you call 3 units, which is super easy to do considering all you need to have is 3 face-up units, including himself when you Persona Flip. So super easy to pull off. He's made the deck infinitely better, especially when you combined him with Horsa, and the amount of power you can just generate from all of the calling you're doing off of the top of the deck with him. I've been topping lately in my locals with this deck, and it's definitely because of Reigning Dragon. There have been times where I've gone into grade 4 Gurguit and regretted that after that I didn't just go into the Reigning Dragon. Just because the multiple attacks that you can get and the power you can generate with it just makes this card super, super good. Definitely a 4 if you're running any kind of Gold Paladin deck. After him we have just a couple offshoots. First is the Ray Breath Dragon from the start deck. It's pretty simple. He just says Unite. Your front row rear guards get 2,000 power, and he gets 5,000 power. And then we run a 1 of the Golden Knight Campbell, who is the on-hit, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, call 1, gets +2k. Mainly here for G-Assist fodder, or if you just are out of resources or counterblasts, and you just have 1 of them as an option. That is better than doing nothing. So that's what they're here for. And then, last but not least, we have the G-Guardians. First off, we run 2 of the Sacred Heaven Prayer Master Rhea. She's the simple and easy G-Guardian from Fighters Collection 2016. She just says so long as you have 2 units on the field, she gets +5k shield. So for Gold Paladin, certainly not hard at all to get. And then we have the Golden Beast Slamy Flare, who is a super good G-Guardian for golds, because she says, choose one of your rear guards and put it on the bottom of your deck. When this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you can pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 cards with different grades from among them, call them to Guardian Circle, and shuffle your deck. So super good, because you can check the top 5, call like a grade 0 and a grade 1, or you can find that PG, call the PG again, just like you do with Gurguit, discard a card, and you stop the attack completely. So great little toolbox for golds. I don't find that you need any of the Crayon Lentils really in this deck, between all the cards that just keep going back into your soul, or just have resist in general. Don't need to worry about Dismal, and then Slamy is perfectly fine as a replacement for Screw You. So don't need either of those. So that's it for my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be coming out with more Set 8 stuff in the next couple of weeks. Have a good night.